Have you ever felt stuck? Have you ever felt like you're in a pattern that just keeps repeating itself and it's a painful pattern and you don't understand why you're doing it? Like maybe dating the same guy over and over. He looks different, but lo and behold, there he is again with the same patterns and the same dynamics and the same pain. Whatever it is for you, if you're finding yourself in these holding patterns or these challenging places in your life and you don't understand why, well, you're in for a treat because I have Carolyn Lovewell in the house. You might know her as Carolyn Elliott, who wrote Existential Kink, which is just this amazing book. We're going to tell you more about all of it in a moment. But first, let me just welcome Carolyn to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, hi, Jenny. Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Oh my God. I got goosebumps. I read your book last year. It blew me away. As a shadow worker, I was like, yes, sister, this is what it's about. This is what the healing journey is. And yet you also have a different slant on it and around, well, we'll be talking about it, about how to heal and how to feel the power and take from the unconscious realm what you need to shift and grow and heal and all that jazz. We're going to talk about that. Let me just let our listeners and watchers know a little bit more about you. So Dr. Carolyn Lovewell, also known as Carolyn Elliott, just so you know, is the author of the best-selling book that rocked the coaching and personal development world, Existential Kink. Unmask your shadow and embrace your power. Yes. She's also the co-founder of the world's only operating initiatory school in the Western esoteric tradition, Sleepover Mystery School. Dr. Lovewell earned her doctorate in critical and cultural studies at the University of Pittsburgh. And she's here to share with us her wisdom. So this is what her book looks like. I just want to show you right now. Oh my God, I listened to your book. I was eating it up and it just enhanced what I knew. It took it to another level. And bought it after I listened to you, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm diving in with this, sister. You are spectacular. Right, enough about me yapping about you. Let's get your wisdom in real time, and maybe we start with the shadow, the unconscious, and how you view it and how you work with it.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so the term I borrow from Carl Jung, and Carl Jung used the term in various ways throughout his career. Sometimes he used it to refer to the whole of the unconscious, sometimes specifically to the shadow side of the ego, or basically the qualities and the desires that we tend to just think that other people have, and then they bother us and other people, and we don't understand that we ourselves have them. The part of the shadow that I'm specifically interested in and that Existential Kink is really fantastic with addressing would be unconscious desires. So basically, we pretty much all of us humans walk around thinking that we only want good stuff. I just want money. I want everybody to like me. I want all the things that enhance my chances of survival. And that's really what the conscious ego is. It's like a survival navigation device for the world. The thing is that we are not just our egos, right? We are souls. We are these entire, complete spiritual beings. And the soul, as at least I've found in my personal experience, isn't just interested in the good stuff. It has desires for everything. It desires to experience what we could call failure, rejection, scarcity. It wants to just taste life, the whole wheel of life, pain and pleasure, life and death. That's otherwise why come into incarnation? I could just, hang out and be in blissful, unmanifest soup with God all day. But I didn't. Our souls come down here into this realm, and this is the realm of duality. So Existential Kink is about coming more and more into a greater identity with my soul and into a greater acceptance that my soul is capable of desiring and enjoying a whole range of experience. So usually the range of experience that my ego wants to enjoy is like this big. And what I've found is that it's possible with practice to really expand and expand and expand the range of sensation, the range of experience that can be received as pleasure, as love from the divine. Another way of thinking of it is we're all constantly making love with the divine beloved. And the divine beloved is touching us in all these different ways with various events and various sensations that arise in our bodies. And the human tendency is to interpret, just teeny tiny amount of those sensations as good, and the rest, it's anxiety, it's pain, it's ugh. But there's actually a way to open up to being present with so much more of that. And what I discovered is that as one opens up in that way, it is possible to dissolve long-standing negative patterns in relationships and in, getting involved with the same sort of person over and over again. There's a way in which, how do I say, like that kind of, being in an unpleasant relationship is highly sensational. There's a lot of sensations there. And, there's this common saying, what we resist persists. I have found that to be so, so true. So when I'm experiencing an ongoing pattern in relationships, my story is that around the time that I discovered the principle of existential kink, I was in a super controlling, abusive relationship with this guy he was nuts. He was really crazy. And I was really crazy because I kept calling him up and going out with him.
Right.
He was
Yeah.
violent. And
Mm.
and I told myself, oh, I hate this. I hate that he acts in this controlling, jealous, crazy way. But I was familiar with the fact that I might have desires that I'm unconscious of. So I got really curious. I was like, well, I know that my ego hates this. I hate dealing with his thing, but I keep coming back to it. So does some part of me love it? Is there some
Mm.
part of me that is really just so fulfilled by this relationship? And when I got really honest with myself, I could find that there was a part of me that, he was treating me like I was a drug, like I was his supply of heroin, and he was anxious about his heroin going away. And there was part of me that really wanted to be desired like that, like treated
Yeah.
like I was this, covetable substance. And when I really let myself relax and receive the fulfillment that was already present in that relationship, because, according to my mind, well, it's a very unfulfilling relationship. It's not the way that I want it at all. It's terrible. But according to a deeper part of me, it was massively fulfilling. It was massively fulfilling to this part of me that wanted to feel so compulsively, obsessively desired in that way. So when I let myself really enjoy that and really, really receive that without negative judgment, just take that in with zero shame and zero story about, oh, I shouldn't want such a terrible thing, or I shouldn't be in such a messed up relationship. I found that it peaked. It reached this orgasmic release because I was no longer resisting it. I was surrendering into it and receiving it as a gift, a stroke from God.
Mm.
And that was when I gained the freedom to just walk away from that guy. And
Oh, wait,
then,
wait, wait, wait. I've got to stop you there. So you finally got into this place of acceptance, I'm hearing, kind of going with it, enjoying it, realizing there's a part of you that is getting off on this. He wants me as a drug. And as soon as you were able, or not as soon as, but when you get to this place of, oh, there's a part of me that really is enjoying it, you stepped away. Tell us more about why didn't you stay if you were really getting off on this? Why did it's like, okay, I'm this is the divine giving me this experience, or I'm dancing with the divine. What shifted for you, and how did that shift for you?
yes, wonderful question, Junie. Well, it came, I felt complete. It was as if I had this unconscious, shadowy desire for this obsessive, somebody to be obsessed with me that way. And it was like, as long as I was in denial about the existence of that desire, as long as I was like, oh, this is so random, this is just my terrible fate to be with this guy who's so crazy and obsessive. As long as I was taking that attitude towards it and not really taking responsibility for the desire, I was I was not experiencing myself as somebody who was being fulfilled. I was experiencing myself as somebody who was in a condition of scarcity. And I've come to see more and more that that's pretty much always a lie told by the mind. My deep desires are always perfectly and completely met. And so when I
Mm,
opened up to this deeper truth that I was receiving this exquisite fulfillment of what my real desire was, um, it reached a place of completion where I was like, wow, there's a part of me that longs for this obsessive treatment. I'm getting this obsessive treatment. How amazing. And then I was like, I grew out of it because what we resist persists and what we love changes. And sometimes I think that that's why we keep resisting because on some level it's scary how much when we are open up in love and surrender, life is constant, change and movement.
change. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it makes sense. The unknown. And people don't like that. Human beings don't like that. We're
No.
wired for survival. We're wired to make sure the shit doesn't hit the fan. So it makes sense that we're going to be cautious around what we don't know. Okay, this is the scenario. This is the relationship I have, territory that I'm familiar with, and yet you were struggling with it until you realized another way. And I'm curious, with that part that finally was like, okay, I'm good with it. I see it. I'm seeing through it. You were able to dance with it in a different way and leave. Would you then say that the peace inside of you, okay, actually, let me just back up for a second. I usually say in my shadow work terms that we call in on some level, we're attracted to something that's going to poke the wound inside of us, poke the unconscious part that has not been brought out to the light or has been embraced. And so, yeah, I was in an emotionally abusive relationship and I called it in because my self-esteem was so low. It was like, it was showing me, yep, I suck. Yep, I have no voice. And it wasn't until I did my shadow work that was like, wait a second, I know that this was part of my journey and I don't have to be victim to this unconscious belief. I don't have to be victim to this scenario. I found my voice, I found my power, and eventually I left because I didn't need that anymore. Is that a similar way that you look at it, or would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, totally similar, very similar. I would say that sort of the flavor and the spin of existential kink is this notion that when we can make something fully conscious with deep embrace, with deep erotic approval. And when we, and basically, I love the subtitle of your book there, like shed the shame. As long as we're ashamed of something, we won't make it conscious. We won't let it completely come to the surface. And it'll stay unconscious and it'll keep repeating, right? So existential kink is like, hey, you don't just have, how about, so sometimes I think part of why existential kink is cool and why it can really work for people is a lot of times we've heard this message over and over again, like accept ourselves, accept yourself, approve of yourself. And it's sometimes like, well, sure, those are great, but they're like maybe a little bit weak sauce. So existential kink comes in and is like, completely, we dare you to orgasmically embrace what you've been doing. Just like, and we're not denying that it's painful. So the metaphor of existential kink, just to make it really explicit for people, um, there's BDSM communities around the world where adults make agreements, they make consensual agreements, I'll be the submissive, you be the dom, you're gonna drop hot candle wax on my back and I'll open up to that sensation. And this will be our safe word. And then, people go on and they experience sensations that if they encountered them randomly in daily life, they would not be happy about it. But because they've given themselves a new context and a new meaning to these same sensations, they're able to open up and experience those sensations actually as a kind of pleasure. So, like, if I was walking down the street and somebody dropped hot wax on me, I'd be really mad. But if I'm with a lover on a Friday night and we have a consensual, agreement, and there's hot wax being dropped on me and I can relax and open up into it. It could be a transcendent, romantic, deep experience. So existential kink is basically recognizing that life is happening all the time, and all of us have these existential kinks where we are attracted to various kinds of painful situations. And as long as we're in denial about that, we're not giving ourselves space to open up and relax and enjoy and let that come to completion, let it climax, let it be moved through. So the idea with existential kink is that we set up, it's a meditative practice, and we set aside, 15, 20 minutes to consent to whatever it is that we're feeling. Because it's funny, life is always happening, and it's like this dom with no safe words. Life is constantly coming at us like, woo, so intensely. So
Yeah.
in existential kink, we're setting up the container and we're setting up the agreement to change the context of the pain within ourselves. And we're giving a new meaning to the pain. And that is why I think existential kink can be so potent for helping people, because, for example, when I was in that controlling, abusive relationship, the meaning that I kept giving to it was like, well, I'm experiencing this because I suck and he sucks and the world sucks. And, this is just there's no way out. And what existential kink helped me do was give a new meaning and a new context to the pain so that it could be experienced differently and move through and be changed.
Love that. Yeah, exactly. And that's similar language that I use too. It's like we say, it's just energy. It's just energy. And so we can push it away and call it names and be shameful about it. Or we can actually get to know it and embrace it and invite it in and then have choice. And what you just said, it's about being in the driver's seat versus I suck and it running us, versus being able to step into a very different paradigm with the divine, with the energy, to actually have the experience and the story of the experience a whole different dynamic. Right. I just absolutely love it. And I'm curious, for somebody who's listening, they might be like, well, that sounds really amazing, but what if somebody's really hurting me? What if somebody's really abusing me? Like, we're talking about it, but there might be somebody going, yes, but, he literally beats me up and I'm in physical pain and I can't get out of this relationship, or anything else that somebody would be filling the blank in around. This is really painful. How on earth can I actually be with this energy and the divine when this is so painful or shameful or just so challenging to be with? What might you offer to that person?
That's such a deep, beautiful question, because certainly sometimes the pain is absolutely overwhelming. So first of all, I would say, obviously, my suggestion would be to anyone to do whatever they can do for themselves to be safe.
Yeah.
And when it comes to working on the relationship with pain, is exactly sometimes. So I do always recommend that when people start out with an existential kink practice, that they start out with really low level pain, really like my irritating coworker, or the fact it bothers me that my bank account is lower than I want it to be, like stuff that's not the most intense trauma of your life.
Yeah.
There's when the pain is completely overwhelming, it's very hard to work with in an erotic existential kink way. But so my recommendation for something of that kind of overwhelming pain would be to really just focus on ascribing a new meaning and a new story to that pain. So for example, instead of thinking that the fact that I'm in this relationship means I'm so terrible and the world is such a mean and scary place, I would start saying to myself something like, the fact that I'm experiencing this means that my soul is in the middle of a beautiful transformation, and there's some wonderful grace that's about to come in and change everything. And just tell a completely different story of the meaning of what this means. Because society, the interpretations that we're inheriting from the media, from other people, are pretty much always going to be disempowering interpretations, anything ready-made. And something that I like to think about a lot is that, we're all doing magic all of the time. We're all very powerful magicians. And the essence of magic is the hermeneutic art. So hermeneutics is the art of interpretation. It's from the name of the Greek god Hermes, who was the god of magic. And we all have a hermeneutic agency, a hermeneutic responsibility, where we get to choose exactly what our experience means. And as we choose what our experience means, we are changing, how do I say? It's like we're changing let me put it another way. We are, because I think the way that I think about this is indistinguishable from the way that I think about synchronicity. So, everybody loves noticing synchronicities. Synchronicities are a pattern of events with a shared resonance of meaning, a pattern of internal and external events that mean the same thing. And they're wonderful to observe. It's wonderful to have a dream of a friend, and then you wake up and then you run into that same friend. You haven't seen them in 10 years, but now they're in line at the local coffee shop. And wow, what a marvelous synchronicity between the inner event of the dream and the outer event of meeting the friend. Magic is active participation in synchronicity, and it happens when we create new densities of meaning. So if I create a completely new density of meaning by saying this pain means a wonderful thing instead of this pain means a terrible thing, the density of the terrible keeps creating a cyclone of terrible. It's a density of meaning that just repeats that way.
Yeah.
And the new density of meaning creates a virtuous upward spiral of wonderful things starting to happen. So that's something that I would really encourage anybody in an overwhelmingly painful situation to do, is don't worry about the erotic, sexy part of existential kink. You don't have to focus on that. Just really focus on your power to change the meaning. And yeah.
Yeah.
Quick interruption, and then we'll get right back to the show. There is something time sensitive. There is a contest going on, and there's one lucky prize winner to win the Relationship Toolkit program. This is a 5-week program with me guiding you to help you really stand your ground and have healthy boundaries, to be able to speak your truth and trust your gut, to have good, solid self-esteem, and to learn what the healthy relationship that you desire looks like. You learn to rewrite your love story and so much more. So there'll be one winner. There's some really juicy second place prizes as well. So you're going to want to click the link in the show notes for enter the contest, and be sure to put your correct email address and your phone number so I can reach out to you and let you know if you're the winner. Good luck.
I think that's so primo, like right there. We do have the power. Well, we have the power of a lot of things. Let's start with just looking at what we're thinking and believing about our experiences. The meaning we give to the experiences will certainly inform how we're being in that experience, as well as bringing more of it in or not bringing it in. So that's like such a great first step, which is just to be aware of what you're believing the story is, and to even ask yourself, where did you even get that story? Because where do we pick it up? Why do we even have these beliefs in the first place? But again, wanting to stay safe, wanting to survive, that's our wiring. And we can shift it. And like you said, the magic, we can co-conspire with the universe around us. And it starts with what's between our ears. I love it. You talk about mystery initiation. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means to you?
Oh, yes, I would love to. So, Sleepover Mystery School. We are a living example of it. So mystery schools were very popular about 2,000 years ago in the Mediterranean. And mystery schools are different than what we usually think of as religions, in that they were a one-time experience that people underwent. And after that experience, they were forever changed, forever in a different level of consciousness. And the essence of mystery initiation involves two things. One, a vow of silence, so total silence. And then two, In the process of initiation, the initiate is ritually identified with the god whose mystery school it is. So this is very different from normal religion, right? If you go into a church, nobody's going to put you up on a cross and ritually identify you with Christ. They don't do that. They probably did do that, actually, though, in the early days of Christianity when it was a mystery school. So those are the hallmarks of mystery school. So in the Eleusinian mystery, the initiate would be identified with goddess Persephone. In the mysteries of Osiris, the initiate was identified as Osiris. So it's a very deep, inward, transformative, secretive experience. And what it leads to is a remembrance of the soul's immortality and actual identification with divinity. So that's why I regard mystery culture as something very, very precious. And it was stamped out by imperial Christianity around 400 AD. And the Western mystical tradition has been struggling ever since. And that the esoteric tradition is sort of the history of how the people, how we maintained the essence of initiation in a secret way, hiding it from persecution over 2,000 years. So there's a long story of that. And basically, it arose again in the 19th century in the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which was a mystery school operating in London, England, and it had a few other satellite temples. And basically everything that we know today as the occult, so Wicca, Druids, people having little drum circles and moon circles and everything like that, that all was a renaissance that grew out of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, which itself was a renaissance of a teaching that had been hidden for thousands of years. So our school, Sleepover Mystery School, is in that same tradition of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. And we also connected to the Rosicrucian and the Eleusinian mysteries. And so it's funny. I mean, sometimes when you hear the term mystery school thrown around, people use it for a lot of things. They use it for like, join my online tarot class. It's a mystery school. And it's like, no, it's
not really.
Online tarot class.
A little different.
Yes, there's a real difference. A mystery school is a living in-person tradition that is connected to and inspired by the gods. It's a living mystery school, has a living prophetic inspired current moving through it, where the gods are active. The presence of the gods is there in the ritual. I'm very happy that Sleepover Mystery School is a very electrically alive branch of transmission for the Western esoteric tradition. We have been operating for 3 years. We're taking a little hiatus for 2025. We'll be back for 2026. Folks could learn a lot more about it on my podcast. I have a podcast called Sleepover with Carolyn and Layla, and we interview people who've been through our mystery school, and we talk about things connected to the mysteries.
Because I know you've mentioned, you're talking about magic, you're talking about rewiring and shifting perceptions, and you're also talking about existential kink, and really embracing and enjoying all the aspects of being a human being, all the emotions, all the experiences. And I'm wondering, is that some of the work that you're doing in this mystery school in reference to embracing the shadow and owning the shadow and getting orgasmic around some of the shit that hits the fan and actually loving it? I'm curious if those two are together in that.
Yes, absolutely. So without breaking any vows.
Yes. Right. Because it is called a mystery school for a reason.
Yes, we do have vows of silence. So there are things that I cannot talk about. But we do, it's on our registration page, that we do a erotic guided practice called EK On, which is a guided self-stroking practice designed to help us connect to the divine lover, designed to help us come into an embodied erotic relationship with God and with the shadow integration. So that is a big part of it. And a big part of it, I mean, one way to think of mystery initiation in general is that it is a means of moving from a dualistic perception to a non-dual perception. So that involves reconciling various pairs of opposites. So the way that Sleepover Mystery School is organized is we have 4 in-person live ritual immersions. And the first one has to do with the reconciliation of life and death. The second with the reconciliation of the masculine and feminine. The third with the reconciliation of mortal and immortal. And the fourth is an integration immersion. So there's this amazing process of remembrance, literally remembering, bringing back together parts of the soul and parts of who we are that had been fragmented and disassociated, and coming into a new realization of our wholeness and a new ability to be present with each other in love. It's really, really gorgeous. Really lucky to be a part of it.
Oh my God, it sounds amazing. You might have answered this in a different way earlier, but I want to ask the question, how do you view existential kink in reference to the shadow integration? How is it different, your processes with the existential kink journey? How does it differ from some of the other shadow integration processes that are out there? Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not familiar with the process that
Sure.
you're I think just some things that I'm aware of that are generally out there. There's like the shadow work journal that got big on TikTok, and that has to do with having people, folks basically examining their personal trauma histories and examining, what things in the past might be connected to their behavior in the present. And I can certainly see the value of that. Also, one of the primary ways that Jung did shadow work, and one of the ways that we also do shadow work in the online courses that my company teaches, the company is called the Immortal College. So we also do things along those more classically Jungian lines, like he called it active imagination. So you could have dreams and you could dialogue with a dream character. And by dialoguing with the dream character, one creates a deeper relationship between the conscious and the unconscious, and integration can occur that way. So I do really love that. What is different about existential kink is it's a very somatic, very embodied invitation. So I'll give a little example. Like, I've been working lately with a pattern in my relationships that arises where, I love my husband, he's so wonderful. And every once in a while, I get really irritated by something that he does. I bet every married couple can relate to that. So this feeling of irritation arises. And again, it used to be like the feeling would arise and I'm like, ugh, I don't want to feel this. I have to feel this because he's so awful and blah, 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 and I'm so awful. Blah, blah. And it just, keeps happening. And lately I've been zeroing in on this feeling of irritation. And I've just been saying to myself, this feeling of irritation means that I am expanding into the most supreme blissful union with God. This irritation is the feeling, the touch of my divine lover. I am so grateful for it. And I was just walking around, tuning into that and feeling that today as I took my morning walk, and I could feel the sensation transform into pleasure. Suddenly it was like electric shocks in my genitals moving up my torso and through my body and the top of my head. And that to me that's existential kink. There was this, kinky feeling. I was like, no, I don't want to feel this. But basically, the theory with existential kink is that life is always stroking us on the resonant sweet spot. And part of how I came to realize existential kink is I was actually in a orgasmic meditation community, and I was being stroked all the time. Or for those who don't know, orgasmic meditation is a clitoral stroking partnered practice that's very regimented. That involves, you know, the woman receiving clitoral strokes for 15 minutes. And there was this knowledge in that practice that, you know, somebody who had been stroking for a long time could tune into a resonant magnetic spot. And sometimes my stroker would be on this, you know, magnetic resonant spot, like he could feel the magnetism. And I wouldn't like that. I'd be like, you know, change the stroke, go higher, go lower, lighter, softer. And what I gradually started to realize is that life is often like that. Like God is stroking me on this magnetic resonance spot. And sometimes I'm just like, no, I don't like that. Go softer, lighter, up, down. But the invitation of the practice is to realize that, you know, here's the resonant stroke, and I can change the context, change the meaning, and open up to a wider range of enjoyment than I ever had before. So I found myself having actual orgasmic sensations from my irritation this morning. And that to me is, you know, that's miraculous. And that's a sign to me. I know from past experience that that's a sign to me that this little pattern of irritation is on its way out, because once you love something, it changes.
Oh my God. I absolutely love that. I love that metaphor. I'm familiar with oming, experienced it. And I love the metaphor of it, you know, around life and just, okay, there's this one place, like, you know, it's not working, but to be able to kind of expand and open and what else is there. And I love that. I just absolutely love that you use that as an example. I think it's just such beautiful work that you're doing. You know, one of my pet peeves, so to speak, when I get interviewed or when I'm sharing with people, and it's not even a pet peeve, it's just actually more of an awareness that so much personal growth work out there is what I call neck up. Let's just figure stuff out. Let's just think these through. Let's write our affirmations and just say them over and over. And there's nothing wrong with that. It moves people. And what I'm absolutely adoring about your work, and definitely what I do as well, is it's bringing it into the body. And for me, after reading your book and hearing you, it takes it to such a deeper level of embracing it all. And all I'm hearing as you're sharing all this is, you know, just like with the divine, it's all good. There's nothing bad. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing shameful. It just is. And how we view it, how we work with it, how we choose to evolve with it. That's the journey. Am I getting this right? Is there anything you want to add to that?
I think you are really, really expressing it, Junie. I might just add that, you know, exactly what you were talking about, bringing it into the body. That's the whole essence, I think, of the reason that we're on Earth, is to bring the spiritual awareness fully down into our cells, into our genitals, into our hearts. Because it's really easy to have like all of these, you know, ideas about everything's perfect and it's all okay. But to be able to feel that, to be able to have an orgasmic relationship with, you know, something that irritates me or something that
My God, it's like, that's just amazing.
It is amazing. And something that I like to remember is there's something called the orgasmic birth movement. So there's ladies who open up so much to the sensations of childbirth that they have orgasms in childbirth. And I'm in awe of that. I'm not at that level. I wasn't there with
I was far from that during my birthing experience. I was like, yeah, that's not happening here. With that said, you know, it's a journey.
It's a journey. And but just knowing that that's possible, that's something
it's possible.
people do. That's an inspiration to me, because if it's possible to open up and surrender so deep to even the very intense sensations of childbirth, you know, then of course it's possible for me to open up and surrender to the sensations of irritation. Like, it's possible.
Yeah, there's one thing I just want to offer here to anybody that's listening and watching. as I'm hearing you, I am having my own, wow, I'm so not there yet, where I'm feeling an orgasmic experience with something that's challenging. And then you mentioned opening up the heart and connecting to your heart and seeing things differently and again, changing how you view things and surrendering. And I just wanted to like throw this into our conversation here, that wherever you all are, that's where you are. And that just even hearing Carolyn speaking to this as I am going, this is possible. This is something that we can work toward. And to just take those first steps of what else is here and how can I be with the divine? And even if it's just, really, I don't have to shame myself. I don't have to feel like I'm such an idiot, or I've taken this, like whatever it is. Even if your first step is just acknowledging that there can be something different here, breathe into that. Get her book. Check her website out. I know that you have a special gift you want to offer to her, because this is a journey of of realigning with the divine. You may not even have a connection with the divines, for somebody who's watching. Trust me when I say I never thought I would be here in the way that I am. And Carolyn probably didn't think that either when she was in her relationship, until she's shaking her head until she was like, wait a second, I don't have to resist this anymore. And then she shifted and learned, and here she is. So wherever you are, please take a breath into that with gentleness and kindness, and give yourself that opportunity to ask yourself, can it be different? And I promise you it can be. So Carolyn, why don't you share your special gift, and feel free to add anything in if you want to.
Oh, thanks so much, Junie. Yes. So if you, there's a website, existentialkink.com. And if folks go there and enter their email address, they will receive a free Existential Kink guided meditation. And yeah, they'll be added to our email list, and they will be alerted when we open up our Existential Kink Coach training program again. And the Immortal College offers a lot of different online and in-person programs connected to magic. And yeah, we have a whole wealth of things.
So good. We'll make sure we put that in the show notes. Carolyn, thank you so much for your time. I know you have a full load with your little kid and your life and your business. I'm just so grateful that we had this opportunity to chat today.
No, me too. Thank you so much, Junie.
My pleasure. All right. That's it for today. Please make sure to like this episode if you got value. I'm sure you did. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Even write a review. How about that? How novel would that be? Write a review. Tell us how you loved this and how you got some good, good information to take you to the next level. All I know is we're learning, we're growing, we're expanding. Let's just keep moving forward step by step until we meet again. Mwah.